Good evening. We're here to call, I'd like to call the Building Oversight Committee to order. And this is September 15th, 2025. The committee members, we're missing some committee members, but those who are here, let's go, can we do a brief introduction again, since it's been 2 months since we met each other? Do you want to start, Mr. White?
Nathan White, Raymond Public Works Director.
Owens McCullough, Civil Engineer, Sebago Technics.
Joseph Crocker, Town Manager.
Greg Messenger, resident.
Sean McKill, Budget Finance Committee Representative.
David Mattson, resident.
Okay, very good. I'd like to approve the, vote to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, July 23rd. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yep, I'll make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 23rd.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting notes from the July meeting will be approved. In the agenda, we have a old business listed. We shouldn't have any old business unless somebody else wants to bring something up that we have neglected. So if that's the case, we'll move right on to new business. We can recap the last meeting, but I think primarily we're going to be discussing all these issues tonight. So I think unless anyone has a strong opinion otherwise, I think we're going to move right along to discussion with Owens and Sebago Technics. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I feel good about that.
Okay. So, Mr. Owens, would you like to
Sure.
start? I know you gave a presentation at the first meeting, and I'm not really sure what else you had to add for this meeting.
So this meeting, I think, at the last meeting, just to recap, and Joe captured it very accurately. We had a board up and we wrote down some goals and things we'd like to accomplish as a committee, which is all outlined in the notes. The other thing that happened after the meeting is I believe we posted on a share file all the prior planning documents. And I think what we wanted the committee to do was to look through those documents, which included an existing conditions, programming study, and needs assessment by Mike Hayes, the architect that was involved. Allied Engineering, now Salis O'Brien, went through 387 Main Street, that building, and did an existing conditions assessment, looked at the Main Street site, and then went over to the Plains Road site and went through the building over there. And they put together a report of their findings, basically an assessment of the condition of the buildings and where they're at. Mike Hayes, the architect, spent a fair amount of time with Nathan and went through the buildings to look at what he has, how they operate, what sort of needs they have to operate efficiently. Mike Hayes has done a number of these. He did Wyndham's Public Services building. He's done Westbrook with me, South Portland with me, Kennebunk with me, that's under construction right now. So Mike has a fair amount of experience in looking at programming and what goes into a public works building. So sit down with Nathan, went through his crew, his operations, where they're sort of situated at the 3 different sites, with the goal of sort of bringing them all together in one location, so that it was a little more efficient in how they operate, which is not unusual. Most of the public works we've been involved with tend to want to be in one location, have the mechanics, the crews, the muster area, where all the equipment is. So it's one location, easier to manage, to oversee, and work with. So that's where we're at with it. I can go through, I don't want to read through all this to everybody, but we can do it a couple ways. If I can go through each report, or if you've looked at it and you have questions, we can start there and just sort of see where it goes.
I think, thank you for that. I think most of us have read the Allied Engineering overview and Mike Hayes' report, It's pretty comprehensive. Those of us on the committee should certainly have seen it. The general public, I'm not quite sure how we're going to give all that information to them. I have to plead ignorant on that one.
I'm gonna, I just talked to him tonight, Bill, our videographer.
Yeah.
We're going to do a video. I think that's gonna be the easiest way to do it,
Okay,
where it involves 3 buildings. It'd be easier for me to go through all 3 buildings with him and just kind of just go over them and give him an idea of what we're doing and do a
well, we had thrown
presentation.
around the idea of all of us going on a, taking the group on a field trip, so to speak, to your buildings.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Shane was the only one that was deathly against that because he's seen too many of them, he said. But it may not be a bad idea to, most of us here are familiar with your buildings.
Yeah.
But, if we could possibly do that
Yeah, we
in
can,
conjunction with a video.
we got a van, we got a van we can all pile into and take a ride around. I think that would be good for everybody. I think everybody here's been in the buildings at one point. I don't know, did you go through?
I didn't really go through Main Street, but I've been through your, one right over here.
Yeah.
And I've seen
The pit?
salt
Yeah.
sheds and all that, and,
Yeah, I think it would be good to go, again, just,
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's, if you're busy, you're working how many kids you got now?
just one.
That's enough.
more than I want right now.
But, maybe we all can't do it, but those of us who can, and videotape at the same time, that might not be a bad idea for the general public. We could put it on so folks could see what was done. I think that was missing from a lot of the previous meetings, budget finance and BOS before. That's my opinion. I think that's why we're here now, is trying to get some of these things out in the open, be transparent about it.
Is there a way we could do like basically a real quick summary? I know we have these big reports that say, some of the inefficiencies, the way we're running now, some of the things that are wrong with each of the buildings. And just like a quick one or two paragraph, basically stating that, in order to do anything at Webb's Mills Road, it's going to be roughly this amount of money due to these factors. Main Street is, I think we all know that that's just too small. We don't have enough property there that would be nearly impossible. But a real quick 1 or 2 paragraph summary to present as well as the video. So that way, when we're talking to the board and the general public, they can look at that and be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I understand now. They don't need to get into the weeds of, how many violations there would be and what it would cost to, bring it up to code and then expand it. But just a real quick summary of why we've kind of narrowed
So
which was one of our
talking
goals.
points for,
Right,
for
which was
the,
one of our goals as this committee, was to narrow it down to where should we be and why.
that's a good idea.
If we could, that's fine, we can do something like that. Of course, the Plains Road site, we've kind of already done that with a new building, and so we have a pretty good handle on that. The Webb's Mills Road site's gonna be a little more complicated because it's got kind of an odd property configuration, shallow to bedrock, and then if I do an addition and we touch the existing building, generally that has to come up to current
But
code.
that's what I'm kind of saying, is just a quick summary of, this is why we've kind of narrowed it down to Plains Road, because of
A, B, and C.
everything that has to
Okay.
happen at
Okay,
Webb's Mills.
Yep.
The fact that Main Street's too small, you just can't do it. So, that kind of gets a synopsis down to, hey, we've done the research here, it's been done, we saw the reports as to why we're headed towards Plain Street.
And Allied Engineering, Mike Hayes, it's pretty comprehensive in here, the 387 Webb's Mills Road building. It's not in great shape, as the chief knows too, that building's, and this study's 2 years old. I would say it's not a fine wine. It hasn't gotten any better in the last 2 years.
We've kept the building up. The maintenance on it's been kept up. The problems with 380, we call it District 2 down here, is there's no room for all the equipment to be parked there. So we'd still have to utilize the sand salt building to park most of the trucks. Even when Owens and I walked around a couple of times over the years and looked at the building and said, what could we do here for an addition? The bigger problem with the existing building right now is we can't run the dump bodies up inside there. So if there's something to be done to the truck, he's got to change the one of the lift rams underneath the truck, and we're gonna have to do that outside. When the truck's disabled, you have to come along the wing up and get it stuck, literally stuff it in the building, which is a feat by itself, and that happens a couple of times a year, regardless how well we try to maintain the equipment. You know it with your department. It's served its purpose for a long time, and it's just not there anymore.
And at that point, it becomes a safety factor as well.
Yes. And the way we operate right now, Matt's up there all by himself. So that's a huge concern of mine.
Sure.
It's definitely a odd shaped property because I think, what, 7 acres, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And it's, when you think 7 acres, and I know it's being pulled up on the screen here, it's not a useful 7 acres.
Correct.
So I think that was one of, early on, when I kept hearing 7 acres, it was like that's
There's-
great, but it's looking at it on the map, which is probably very beneficial for people and anybody who's watching.
There's a fair amount of wetland, if you look to the right of the picture, where the building is right now. If you move right up in here, there's a lot of wetland up to the back side of that. There's a lot of ledge right behind the building, right to you've got Route 85, the building, and behind that building, there's a stone wall. Well, that's up on top of a hunk of ledge. Not that ledge is not manageable, but it's another obstacle. The Egypt Road side of the building, that parking lot's all filled with crap, crud. We paved that parking lot in 20, I think it was, or 21, and we dug a couple of test holes over there and didn't come up with anything really great. It was crap.
For what it's worth on this site, years ago, we looked at this site as a potential option for a new town office. And we mapped wetlands and found a stream on a site, and it predated vernal pools, so I have no idea if there's vernal pools up there or not, because it just predated all that. But we had one very, very small window up in here, and it just didn't lay out very well especially in this area. There's a fair amount of wetland down through here. As Nathan indicated, this plan sort of shows it. So here, we don't have this is from town GIS information. There was a partial survey, but not real accurate. But we tried to sort of merge the two. This sort of gray area is the current building, and it's actually butted right up against the setback. I don't know if it's in it or not, but it's right up against it. Here's the stone wall that Nathan was talking about, and you can see the topography and signs that are shallow to bedrock, and then there's a kind of a wetland in the back, and it does start to go up grade a little bit, a couple of feet. So it's a challenge.
And there's no easement for that on to North Raymond Hill Road, is there?
Yes, yeah, you can.
There is?
You roll them.
That's right. I was just curious if there was access from there.
Well, I
Right.
mean, this piece of the property actually abuts Raymond Hill
Okay.
Road.
Right, yeah.
So you have frontage on Raymond Hill
Yeah,
Road, but
And that's right after the fire pond.
Grange
Yeah.
Hall, you know where the Grange Hall is? That's that little cutout. Right?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
okay.
And then right after there's a one entrance.
And that's where the river flows through as well, the dotted line there.
yeah.
So looking at this, like even if this was more usable, on that side, or I should say that no matter what, if we were to build, we would be building new, even if that stuff on Raymond Hill there is usable. The only place you could add anything on to this existing structure would be on the public safety side. So I would imagine you'd be building on the back of public safety or to the, if you're looking at the building to the left. So it really doesn't do anything for public works. You would be building something on the public safety side and then,
You'd basically be building a whole new building on this piece of property versus the 15 or 18 acre.
Right, and that doesn't cure all our problems that we have within the department
Yep.
for facilities.
Yeah, I would agree on that. So, yeah, I feel good about. It wouldn't make sense for me to say, okay, well, we should use this existing property to do anything, because I think that if we're putting an do an addition on that building, it doesn't matter where you build, it won't be an addition at that point. It would be new construction anyway.
This building's still got quite a bit of use left to it. There's a lot of repurpose. The fire department, we talked to Bruce about it a week or so ago, about what he would have for interest in it. And he's could probably speak to that. So, I mean, that building does have a lot of potential. Both the buildings that we're in right now have a lot of potential for other uses other than what we're using them for.
Yeah, I can't foresee going without a station on this end of town as the town grows and expands, because it affects your ISO and it also affects our response times as we look to. It's going to be the necessity to expand in the future as populations grow and call volumes shift, et cetera. So keeping that and you repurposing it is definitely something that we should look at.
Thinking long term, would you be doing an addition on that eventually, or do you think that the way it sits now is gonna, if you had both sides, would you?
I think the building's big enough for what we would use it for right now. Yeah, of course, 25 years down the road, I can't predict that. But
Right.
it will be in the same boat as we're at today. But I won't be here for that. But trying to project what we would need down the road and save our taxpayers some funds, et cetera, and provide the service, I'd say that we're within that footprint of the building that's there. Would need some upgrades and updates for sure.
It's more internally stuff as opposed to
Yeah.
potentially adding on.
Right.
And I forget which side has higher roof lines of
On the
public works.
right side, yeah, public
here.
works side.
Okay, so the roof side on public
This,
works is already higher, so
Yeah.
there would be less modification that you would need to do for just the doors
I think I have
themselves.
a picture.
Correct, as far as storage of equipment, things like that, yes.
the 4 bays on our end are 14 or 15, 16-foot high ceilings. The doors are 14.
Ours are 12.
Are down at the village or on this end, or your end? Yeah,
Our end
12s.
is 12, yeah. No, we're 20-foot doors and 22 ceilings
Right.
down at the other building.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was just seeing if I had any pictures of the front of the building, but
Oh, you know what?
unfortunately I don't. Doesn't look like I do. Sorry, I don't have any.
It's okay, quick Google.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, 16-foot high. The ceilings inside are 16.
Yeah, with 14-foot doors.
Yep.
I think our side's 14 with 12s.
12s.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. It's tight.
Yeah.
When we put one of his
Better.
trucks in our building down here to work on it, the custom cabs, when we tilt the cab forward, we have to disable the door, because if somebody were accidentally to hit the overhead door, it'll come up and whack the top of the fire truck. And you can't walk around the front of the truck when it's in there. You gotta kind of crawl around it. It's real safe.
They'll go outside and come back in.
Right. You still can't open the door.
Correct.
I have, let's see, share. This will give you a sense of,
So we've kind of ruled that, I mean, that was one of our goals, is to rule that
Facility.
location out, which seems like we've kind of done here, and been able to repurpose it for the fire department.
Yeah.
47 Main Street would, is gonna serve I'm hoping to serve for Parks and Rec, and give us a location down the village to put the sidewalk machine in the wintertime. And my 302 maintenance guy, Don McClellan, that's where he's based out of. I would like to see that stay. That building needs a little bit of work. But
Parks and Rec will probably end up at Jordan's.
So more the park side of things.
storage and
We have a lot
Oh, that's
more
right, yeah,
amenities
yeah.
now, so we
Yep.
can have the equipment right next to Sherry Gagnon Park, Castletop, Raymond Beach,
Got it.
Veterans. So it's kind of a nice little hub to have all that park equipment. Eventually could be mowers or any type of other maintenance type stuff we could use for the parks.
Very good. That makes sense.
so Bruce, you have these three at this end right now?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
just curious, is there like a shed or something on the far left side, or is that getting on somebody else's property?
No, that's on the other end, no one's.
Past,
You're gonna make me
Yeah,
drive
we-
the road, aren't you?
We built a shed there 20 years ago. So I want to say it's 10 by 8, I think, right behind the grader.
Gotta go up
The
the lawn.
grader and the sweeper are there.
Oh, right in front of the tree, that figures. Gotta improve my driving, I guess.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, there we go.
Yeah, right there.
That's the fuel tank for,
Yeah, it's gas.
It's kind of looking back the other way. Okay.
So I think at this point, if you don't mind, Owen, you had sent out the documents after the last meeting, all the studies
Yes.
that you had. I know I got them because I printed off the
Right.
Allied study, but I have no idea where it ended up.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody else got all the documents from the last meeting.
I did, I don't have them with me, but yes. I did.
Okay. Would you mind sending those out again? And
No,
because
not
there
at
were
all.
some people, I don't know about.
You should have a share file link. I'll
Yes.
resend it to you.
yeah, I think I
And
put that
then-
in the file, so.
Okay.
It'd probably be better just to have it all come through Joe so that I
Please.
don't miss anybody.
I'll make
Thank
a
you.
note.
But I'll make sure that happens. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. So I think we obviously, we as a group need to come up with as David said, the talking points. And I think we invited, if you don't mind, Owens, can we move along? Are you?
Sure.
You good with that?
I'm fine, yeah.
Chief Tupper and Inspector Jones are here from the fire department. And Sean, you requested them, well, we all thought it was a good idea, but would you like to begin? You had some, first of all, I'd like to apologize because we were supposed to write questions to you and send them to you, and we didn't check that box. So,
Oh, you're on the hot seat.
yeah, so,
yeah, I could definitely start. I know that through budget finance, one of the questions that was kind of presented was due to the ordinances of sprinkler systems. And I was wondering if you guys could just kind of talk about what our current sprinkler system is, so, what our current ordinance is, and what your vision for a building like this would be. Is it the same as the ordinance, or would it differ in any way?
Well, it would have to follow the ordinance as that is the law is approved by the citizens of the town. But there is built into the ordinance some alternatives to follow. And off the top of my head, I can't quote the exacts, but I do know that there's a firewall alternative dividing each section into 4,800 square feet or less would be part of it, and then an alternate water supply would also replace the need for sprinklers. A lot of the questions come up in the past where, there's a lake right there. Well, in the winter, the lake's frozen, and I don't have people to go cut holes in ice because we have 4 people on duty. And maybe 2 or 3 others coming from somewhere else, and that's about what you have for 20 minutes. So it needs to be something quicker than that. There is a pond with a dry hydrant stem sticking out of it, which is quite a distance away.
half a mile.
And, yeah, and to haul water a half a mile, obviously, is also, as you can imagine, manpower intensive. It takes people to operate trucks, pumpers to set up at the hydrant to pump water into those tankers, and people to do that. And again, you're taking away from the 4 immediate people when you get there, so, to do all those things. Mutual aid only goes so far. So, obviously, trying to protect ourselves and make ourselves more resilient to protect that investment and that equipment is paramount for all of us for safety. So there is the sprinklers, and then there is the alternatives for that, which I understand have been talked about in the past, and there is a plan with that on it. Wayne, do you want to add anything before I finish and ask? Well, I'm going to ask for a question. No
You're
sound.
muted,
You're
Wayne.
muted.
There I go. Sorry,
Perfect.
sorry, folks. No, I think you pretty well covered it. It's 5,000 square feet instead of the 4,800 that it used to be for a new building. So that's a little bit of a change. And then the other thing that factors into this is the building code requirements too. For like, if you go the firewall alternative, you're looking at 3-hour firewall in accordance with the building code. And that's, the firewalls are, in the ordinance, are UL listed firewall components, including penetrations, joints, head of wall, all of that is part of the review, if that's the alternative that we're looking at going at. Plus, like the chief mentioned, the on-site water supply for fire protection.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know, you're supposed to direct, I'm not supposed to do that, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was educating myself. Who's next?
You had questions.
Okay, all right, I thought you were gonna ask a question, okay. But I know that we talked about it earlier, and I haven't seen a plan, but so I do know that you and Owens have been engineering fire protection measures within the building already, so maybe that's the point we need to go to next, is to see where we're headed, and is this...
So the original design, when we did this, we did it in one, two,
I'll share the
three,
screen.
4.
Perfect.
Is it colored? Is it pretty colored?
Well, no, but I can, give me a second, I'll find the colored one. Geez, you're picky, Nathan.
I don't have a lot of patience.
Well, I've got a photo
All right.
here. Just keep going. I'll have it here in a
You're
second.
slow.
Thank you, Nathan.
Pointing out the obvious.
It helps make them move faster.
All right,
look at
fine.
that.
There, you want color? I'm going to give you color. I'm trying to get the zoom. Here we go. Got too many things open. You made me open everything up, Nathan. Share. Here we go. Color. Okay. Should show up.
All right.
Here we go.
So the biggest bay is the Green Bay, and that is 4,680 square feet. The walls in between these sections are 3-hour burn walls. So the middle bay, the orange bay, I guess it would be, is 3,960, and obviously they go down smaller. The blue bay is is the wash bay, and the bay on the very end, the pink bay, is the office area. All these are divided up with 3-hour burn walls on them.
So Nathan, just under full disclosure, the plan, we haven't touched this plan for over a year, but Mike Hayes drew on there 2-hour, but that can be
Supposed to,
corrected
yeah.
to be 3-hour. He can address that, but I just, in case somebody looks at the plan,
Oh, no, I thought
it's
anyway.
fine. I mean, he'll adjust, but at the appropriate time.
The purpose of this was the 4 bays that are orange are where the trucks are going to be parked. And my fear was vehicle fire. I don't want to burn the building down or lose all my equipment. So most likely there'll be 2 plow trucks and pickups parked in that. The rest of them will be across the way in the old sand salt building, to separate them out in case there ever was a fire. We don't lose all our equipment in one shot.
So the green bays,
That's the maintenance bay.
that's the maintenance?
Yeah,
Okay.
So you've
There's 4 bays in there, right?
Yeah, there's 2 bays that are 30 feet wide by the 90 feet deep, and then there's 2 bays that are 22 feet wide by 90, with a walk path down the left side closest to the office. And you've got the mechanic's office right at the front there, and the bathroom. Light up. Is that it?
Well, unfortunately, the color one's not as readable as the floor plan, so I can blow it up, but you might have a hard time reading.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right.
So you have a mechanic space here,
That's his office.
public works director here, staff room, which would serve as a muster room, a training room, break room, if they're having a weather event, crock pot row, we joke about it, but something over here. And then there's a separated, actually, it's a separated locker room, men's and women's locker room. There's bulk fluids and there's parts. So bulk fluids are, right, the transmission fluid, the motor oil, grease that would be in there. Those would be in that location over here. Usually what happens is barely see it. There's tanks that are positioned on the outside of the wall that are set up that could take bulk fluid delivery, and then it gets dispersed to where the mechanic areas are at. If we trip whatever it is, 600 and it's got it's 1,320, Bruce. I think I'm going by memory. I think it has to be secondary containment. Most of them we do have secondary containment anyway on them. Then there's a parts room. There would be a room for a compressor in there. Air is important in a facility like that.
That's
And-
over in the mechanic side, and not over here.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So,
Where the waste oil is.
mechanical, electrical, here's waste oil, a wash bay. It'd be a traditional wash bay with floor drains inside. I think Nathan and I talked about having, sort of like what we did in Westbrook. It's an underwash. When you drive in, you can back up and remove it. It's not a fully automated system. We did one in South Portland, got an FTA grant for that, but I'm not sure that if you talk to South Portland Public Works, it works. They run their bus service too, so they needed to have it. But for an operation like this, wands on a wall and a pressure washer are the way to go, with a floor drain in it. And then there's
Could we just clarify something here?
Mhm.
I think, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, if the choice was to sprinkle this building, NFPA 13 system, you, if I'm reading the ordinance correctly, you would not have to require an on-scene tank for water supply.
Just the one to supply the system.
Right.
Correct. It
You
would be
could-
an additional, right?
You could
right.
approve the
Yeah.
down the street,
Yep.
the dry hydrant as a secondary water source.
That could be a
We-
system.
I think that was in
Yeah.
your meetings before, there was a lot of discussion and confusion around that.
We had, I think, Bruce and I talked, if I remember correctly, when we were talking about the new ordinance and the alternate water supply was a 20,000-gallon water tank in the ground
Right.
with a standpipe on it.
I thought it was more than that, but it came,
I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, it's been two years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm trying to
don't-
remember. Wayne May, I
There
think
were some
that
numbers that
sounds
went
right.
around,
Yeah.
but a lot of numbers went
Yeah.
up, big numbers and small numbers.
yeah,
we would want to. I just went through this with FedEx in Scarborough. We brought in a fire protection engineer
Yep.
who did the analysis, the runtime, and size cistern tanks to meet NFPA 13. And
Correct.
I don't want to really guess at that. I'd rather let them bring in the person who knows and size
Yeah.
the tanks appropriately.
Right.
And then there would have to be a pump size to
For the
meet the
building
demand for the building.
Right.
And
And that would be either diesel or a three-phase pump
Yeah.
system for that. So depending on which one you went with, would probably dictate how much cost you'd have in that. I don't know what the cost would be.
It was three-phase
So-
power right out.
So the cost benefit here, you know, just looking at it,
Mm.
brass tacks for a resident, if you go sprinkler or you do a 3-hour burn with a 20,000 or whatever that number is, with a pump, which one of those is gonna save us money? And be better off
If I,
for what you're looking to accomplish?
if I understood the ordinance correctly, and I, again, brushed through it really quick, the alternative from sprinklers is the 3-hour burn walls plus an alternative water supply on site. So that's the tank I was talking about. You got going on to sprinklers. If we go to a sprinkler system, you're gonna have to have a tank,
Oh, you have a
pumps
tank
and all
outside,
that crap.
yeah.
Okay, so to just have a if you're doing the alternate,
Mhm.
to just have a tank sitting there with however many gallons, just call it 20,000
Yeah.
for our conversation. That doesn't need to have pumps and all that. You're
No,
gonna cover
yeah,
the
the
pumps. You're
pump.
gonna go in and pull it out.
Right, right.
So that's a big cost savings there.
So if you went to that system, the biggest expense in the sprinkler system, because we're not on city water, is the water storage, the pumps, the generator that's gonna have to run all that. If you go, we've got three-phase power right on Plains Road. So the three-phase power is not that big of an issue. The pumps and the generators where you get into some huge money. Could you pipe the building with sprinklers and put a connection on the outside of the building? Would that satisfy? I mean, that's not that expensive. That's a lesser
Right.
cost. So when you showed up, you could hook up to it. That way nobody has to go in the building.
Right.
I mean, to be realistic here, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that really,
Over.
this isn't a regular house, and
Deluge standpipe type system.
Yeah.
So I think there's two things kind of, and I'm going to ask Wayne to jump in a little bit, but to address your question, cost effectiveness and effectiveness. So, I mean, I will always advocate that the sprinkler system is the most effective. It's 24/7. Firefighters in the building already. We don't have to get called for to go. It's being done if it's a properly installed and maintained system. I mean, so that's the number one thing there. Two, I don't know. I've been out of building services for a few years now, and I'm not sure what the cost difference between 3-hour firewalls, the underground supply, and a sprinkler system would be. So, I mean, it's something that figures flew around last year that were outrageous down to reasonable, if you will, overall. So there's something there would probably just ought to be looked at, and when no one's mentioned having I don't know the cost of having an engineer look at it either, so I'm out of touch with those figures myself. So you get that component to look at, and you can weigh both of those out. The alternative, obviously, is what we're discussing right now, and the tank outside, it just takes somebody, people, to be able to hook up to that and then supply the fire, if
Firefighters.
you will. The firefighters, which have to apply the water and or foam, et cetera, to the fire. So there's that piece of it, and then there's the other piece of it. If we had a system installed that we could hook up to and supply. The problem with that is it's delayed. So a fire would get started, the alarm system, which would be needed in the building, would summon us, we would respond, and then we would be able to hook up to it and supply it. But that would require probably a bigger system. I'm not sure. We'd have to look into that. And that's where I ask Wayne, because he is so much more well-versed on that than I am. That's why I have
I'm
him.
not sure if, code-wise,
Yeah, I don't
That-
know.
that system is
Yeah.
unfortunately not an approved
No.
type of system for NFPA, because that's.
So we're down to two choices.
So-
It's either firewalls
or sprinkler.
with a secondary tank,
Yep.
or sprinklers, and then the secondary would be the dry hydrant that's half a mile away. Or
Right, and you wouldn't
So
necessarily.
those are the two
None of
options,
that.
and I think it's gonna come down to fiscally what the town can
Right.
afford at that point, you know.
Right,
And
well, we
as long
want
as you're meeting code and
we
ordinance
want to
and all
make the
those things.
decision, right.
If,
Right.
if I could ask both you and Wayne,
Mhm.
and be on the record here, because this is the answer that we really want to see. I understand about costs, and I understand about all that, but so using our two choices,
Sure.
looking at the ordinances and all this stuff, what do you guys want to see in this building?
I think it goes beyond what I want to see as a personal question, if
Okay.
that's how we
Less
wanna look at it.
personal, more of
As
like
a professional, I
Yeah.
would, I mean, sorry, but I have to say I'd sprinkle everything, just because I know they are effective. There's not a life lost in any properly installed or maintained sprinkled building anywhere that we have record of. So you've got that to look at. And Nate's right in looking at, this isn't an occupied, if you will, there isn't 50 people working in here, so we're looking at that as well. And we do have to look at costs. That's why I kind of think we ought to, or I urge you, I guess, to look at the option of either or. the firewalls are not going to be cheap to build, so.
Well, there
But-
wasn't a huge, I thought we had this discussion, maybe it was me and Mike. There isn't a huge step from the 2 to the 3. Firewalls are expensive, so if you
Yeah.
had nothing in there for firewalls. And this, the square footage of this building is, I have to see something before I can figure it out. So I went up to Harrison and looked at their building.
Yeah,
Their walls don't even go to they don't go to the top. There's 6 feet from the peak that you,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
Just cinder
Yeah.
block walls.
So
wow.
if you went to that, and if anybody watched this presentation when it first started, that was one of the first buildings that I had a square footage cost on that had gone out to bid.
Yeah,
These walls added quite a bit of money to that. And we did it for a purpose,
mhm.
but I have many more.
So I mean, I think you know, you're weighing these things out and looking at it and from a taxpayer's perspective versus the fire chief's perspective, I'm gonna say, for me, it's you do what's right overall for the biggest bang for the buck, overall. But that's just, that is my personal side of things. I don't know what Wayne would add to it, but.
Yeah, Wayne, I would like to hear your thing, because the reason why I want to dive so deep into this right now, while I have you both here, is because this is a question that came up, and this could.
It is, yeah.
I mean, this could make or break you in a sense. It's not talking about cost effectiveness, but if we educate people and say this is the reason why we're doing this, and this is as protective as this is, for example,
Correct.
then we need to be able to put that out there. But the general public, if they say, well, it's not sprinkled, because I don't know how many public works buildings around here are not sprinkled.
It's kind of.
It is, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead,
No,
Bruce.
I was gonna say, but this is an alternative that is allowed by the ordinance, so what we're talking on both sides of the fence is fine. It's just the choice that gets made at this point by this committee, so. and-
The only question I would have is, obviously, I think you guys all know I do code enforcement too, and I do not see a 3-hour wall around this whole working area. I only see the 3-hour wall around the cutting and welding area, or the repair garage, and the
green,
green and the, Wayne, you could correct me if you disagree, but it's incidental to the structure. The rest should be 2-hour.
yeah.
These were supposed to be 3 hours, and I think in the meetings that we had back and forth with the architect, it just got lost. But
Okay.
That's a firewall, that's a firewall,
Right,
that's a firewall.
but I don't think this needs to be, that's what I'm saying.
That could be.
If I can chime
Yeah,
in.
go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So for anything over 5,000 square feet, by the code, for this type of a building use, requires the 3-hour firewall.
Right.
So you're talking about you're talking at least three 3-hour firewalls in
What's the
this building.
size of this?
Everything in the building's under,
Oh, yeah.
are you talking about the individual or the entire building has to be under?
So-
36,
So any space
46.
larger than 5,000 square feet requires a 3-hour firewall separation because of the use of this building.
Right, and all those spaces are under the 5,000. They're 46, I think you said 46 and 36?
Right, 46 and 38.
The biggest one is 4680 square feet, and that's the maintenance bay.
Okay.
And the other,
So does that then bring it down to the 2-hour? I'm asking, I don't know the ordinance.
It's all based on the use.
Okay,
Well,
It's
but
because it's a commercial motor vehicle maintenance and storage of commercial motor vehicles facility that require for every 5,000 square feet, if you don't sprinkle, then you gotta have the 3-hour firewall. And that's not just a firewall, that's your doors, that's the whole 9 yards. You gotta be able to create compartments, 5,000 square foot or less compartments
And you make it on
to contain that fire.
section,
And that's what they're trying to do.
yeah. Because the green one's like 48.
So
Yes, it's 48,
So that's-
38,
If you-
whatever it is, but.
if you take the orange area and the blue area, that is 6,300 square feet.
Right, so you're
With the-
over.
With the yellow.
But you have the firewall between those
The
two spaces.
intent was the orange spaces firewall.
Each one of those
Correct.
different colors are,
One compartment.
right, they're individualized so that you have firewalls on either side of it, and then you're counting the space in those color-coded areas.
Wayne,
And
help
none
me.
of those are 5,000.
Right.
Wayne, help me out here. This is all in, so
Yeah, so.
where my cursor is, this
Yeah.
would be one separation wall running the entire
Yeah.
inside the building.
Yeah,
Where I've moved my this would be another separation wall here.
correct.
And then we would need to have another separation wall, I guess it ran something like this.
Correct.
Around. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then, you know, the other things that come into play with the code is anytime you had bulk fluid storage, that's a 1 hour room. And you already had a 1 hour separation between, you know, like the bulk storage room. I can't read it on the screen here, but the orange spaces and the purple, you had 1 hour walls already in there to separate
The bulk and the.
occupied, you know, the occupied areas from the hazard areas.
It's a high hazard area, the occupancy areas,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, yes. And you have that at the top, between A and B, you're showing a 1 hour, a box saying 1 hour firewall pointing to them.
Oh,
Pro-
yeah.
And that purple line was a 1 hour wall. Well, actually, it should be a 3 hour wall when you get down to the green, where the
Sure.
green, the purple, that's 3.
Geez, Wayne, you're pretty good at reading fuzzy lines.
Yeah,
Can't see those at all.
I can't see it.
Thank
I
you.
don't know from here.
So then, Wayne,
I can't
if
see
you could weigh in, the same question I asked Chief here is, you know, not personal, but you're professional. What would you want to see with a building this size? Would you want to see it sprinkled, or would you want to see the alternative?
The best protection you can have for this facility, sprinkled building. That's the best protection that you can have. Understand, you know, even when we create these 5,000 or less square foot compartments, you still have a fire growing in that space until we get there. And we're talking a 20-minute response time. You know, so that fire is growing. Whereas with a sprinkler system, it's putting water on the fire right away. It's keeping the fire small.
Thank you. Do we know if there are any public work buildings that are not sprinkled? Maybe there's some older ones that are.
Definitely.
The Gloucester's not sprinkled. Harrison's not sprinkled.
And just a point of interest, I believe there were 5 in the state last year, not to throw any bones in it, that 2 of them were owned by the state that burned up. Am I right,
Yeah.
David?
I know one for sure was
Yeah.
a DOT.
State lost
One
2.
last year, one the year, there was 2 turnpike garages that went down.
Yep,
And those both were not sprinkled.
not sprinkled, nor did they have.
Working on
alarms.
both those.
Oh, is he? And the,
And the one that's closest to us on the interstate hasn't been rebuilt yet. It's still just a pad sitting there.
Perfect.
And that fire was, what, early last winter?
Yeah, it was.
It's not a quick recovery from a fire incident, and they're not unheard of, as you just mentioned.
So if I could ask you the question, so that's the one side of it, and the other side of it is that right now our ordinance allows it the way it kind of says not, the ordinance allows it not to be sprinkled, if we were to choose it that way. So there's no ordinance question. I think last, when we were looking at it, and it could be wrong, of course, it's how rumors get started, and that's why I want to be so transparent with this. I think the question was, we had to change our ordinance to allow this building not to be sprinkled, but the truth of it is that our ordinance allows our building not to be sprinkled as it sits right now.
As it sits right now, yes.
Okay, well, that's really good clarification, because
That is.
I think we were under the impression that our ordinance was gonna have to change, and then I was very much against that, because it's
Yeah.
like, well, we have these homes that are, and I understand the difference between building this type versus a home, you know, occupancy, but we're requiring people to sprinkle at that size, and then to change our ordinance back to say, well, we're trying to do this thing, and it's not the case. I thought it was going to set a pretty bad precedent. So just to clarify, the way our ordinance says right now, that we can do this without sprinkling, without changing our ordinance.
Correct. Right
It
now, we
gives
do
us
not
the
need to
option.
change it.
Now, you could do a cost comparison of both
Yeah,
Right.
and have that, you know, weigh those two options.
and that's gonna help you to make your case in the end.
Yep, that might be a
So
good
what
decision.
I would need to do is, and I've had Salis O'Brien do this before, is they have a fire protection engineer that we've brought in to will review the plans, review the NFPA, will run the calculations for it, and come back with a recommendation of what we would need for tank sizes. We would certainly send that to Bruce, to you and Wayne, so you could see that. And then what we would do is either talk with a cost estimator or a fire company to get a cost for it. I can tell you the tanks, I got that, I can figure that out pretty easy. I can go to Grondin's or Shaw Brothers or something like that, because they've done these a lot of times. I can get a sense on what those costs were. The wild card a little bit for me is the pump. I guess I'm gonna need I gotta think my way through that a little, because those pumps, is that the one I'm doing for FedEx in Scarborough right now. I'm not designing it. I brought in a mechanical engineer, obviously, to do it. But there's basically a wet well that goes down into the ground, a suction intake that goes up to, has a jockey pump and has a fire pump that's mounted up inside of a heated building with the controls and level sensors that then pumps the water up over and into the building. That's the best way to do it, because the suction pumps, and it's accessible, and the jockey pump kind of primes it.
Right.
And that's about the extent of my fire pump design. But that would be, and there'd be some sort of small structure over the top of it that would be heated, because you have a wet system in there, right?
Right.
So you want to make sure it doesn't freeze on you.
Who-
So there's some cost in that.
Who are you gonna have a look at that?
I'll go to Salis O'Brien. I'll get their fire protection engineer involved.
Could be,
He helped me with
could be dry.
the FedEx one.
Ours is dry.
Yes, it could be a dry
Could be a dry
system.
Inside the building?
Yep, our station's all dry.
Yeah,
From
sure.
the- From the valve up.
Is there an advantage? I'm asking
Well,
you, because I don't know. Is there an advantage between a wet and a dry? Is a wet better because it,
Freezing and such, but you have to have that extra valve, which basically holds your water pressure back with the air compressor on top of it, and it's just a, I don't know, 2-horse, 3-horse compressor.
And you add a compressor.
We've got compressed air. This building would have a compressor on it all
It's-
the
Yeah,
time.
you'd have-
anyway.
You'd have
Waste
that.
oil heat.
but we would have to be a little thoughtful in researching
Yeah. Oh,
this
yeah.
to answer that question. And then the second piece of that question could be, is if we didn't do a sprinkler system in the building, what the cost is of 3 air walls, and we can go to a
Right.
cost estimator and get some help with that.
Sure.
And then, I guess tank size,
Yeah.
I need to understand, I guess, is there a specific code around size of
there
tank
is.
for the building? So I can ask the fire protection engineer to say, okay, price this give me the volume 2 ways. One is if I have a sprinkler system in the building, because I assume that it kicks on and it discharges a certain amount, then there's some reserve in there
Right.
for access by the fire department, right? As, I guess.
To keep feeding
Yeah.
the system until,
And then,
yeah.
as opposed to that, if there was no sprinkler system, what would be the tank size? I can
Correct.
ask that
It
question.
would be different, and I'm not sure what we came up, for some reason, I remember that figure, Nate, I know we,
Well, there was a lot of numbers
Around
that
like
were kicked
20,000.
around there. I mean, we went all the way up to a
I don't wanna
250,000
guess.
gallon tank.
yeah, at one
And-
point, we
yeah, that-
talked about
Yeah,
that.
and I think that's where things got a little out of hand. And I think if we go to O'Brien to get them to look at it, they're gonna size the tank. They're gonna
Yep,
give
that's
you
what they do.
a cost and a pump and everything. So we don't. Then all we have to do is make sure that if that's the way we're gonna go, that meets the fire department.
You gotta get power down to it. Nathan.
I think
Be on
the other
bicycle.
big thing here is just you got a cost analysis of,
Yep.
we're doing it this way and we're doing it this way, and the big thing for you is, can we do it the optional way, which it
Right.
sounds like, legally, yes, you can, we're not,
Right.
cutting any deals for the public works just because it's part of the town of Raymond.
With the
So
state-
those are two viable options. Like he said, every firefighter in the world you're gonna ask is gonna say, I want a sprinkler all day long.
Right.
And, that makes sense from their standpoint.
Yep.
But then you look at, I think the big thing will be the balancing act as we present to, whether it be the board, talk to the public about it, it's like, okay, brass tacks, this building is gonna cost $2 million without a sprinkler, it's gonna cost $3 million with a sprinkler, what does the town want? And, what do we want to recommend as a committee? So I think, I think you getting all that information for us will be great, so that way we can make an educated decision on, what we're gonna recommend, say, hey, I think it's worth it to spend that extra, whether it be $1 million or 500 or whatever that number is. But that's a number we need to know in order to make a educated decision as a committee.
Yeah, exactly. The public would demand it of us for sure.
Yeah.
Can I ask one other thing? Can you find out, and I think this is probably up your alley, find out if insurance costs would be different for a sprinkled versus non-sprinkled?
Yeah, we could do that.
Nathan, is this gonna be within I know you were concerned about your budget moving forward for this project. You had set aside a certain amount of money for this.
We budgeted $150,000 for engineering and site work. We are, I think, just under 80,000 now
Left over?
left over.
Okay.
He has not billed for the last meeting, and obviously this meeting.
Well, I'm not billing you $80,000.
Well, I saw that new car you were driving.
We saw the car.
Yeah, you saw my 11-year-old Honda CRV with 185,000 miles on it. Don't worry.
Just want people to feel bad for you, that's all.
Yeah.
I pulled the brakes on engineering design work on District 2. That was gonna get into the 25-30 grand if we did that. So
Okay.
At that point, if we were gonna have to do something like that, then I was gonna have to go in front of the board and ask for more money.
I
By my
think we're
count-
well within this to do have the Salis O'Brien look at. I've had him do it before. It wasn't as
20
expensive as it.
2 or 3 grand probably. Snickers bar.
Yeah, I think that's,
I'll ask him.
I think that's a big enough question where I would want to bring in some outside opinion, and if it, it seems like there's still plenty left to do. Would you have any idea of what else would be a big figure to cut into that 80,000 beside Owens?
No.
As that CRV.
At this point, I believe we had enough money to go forward. We came to a stop when we came to the town to ask for the money. We needed a positive vote from the town before we could go out to design build. There'll be, if this were to go forward, there'll be money, will be billable time in from Owens for clerk of the works and stuff like that. And I think that would probably be rolled into the cost of the building. So the quick answer to yes, I think we're all right now financially.
Yeah, I'll look.
We'll let
We
you
get a
know
little
if we're not.
closer.
It clicked off from the car to here when he was asking the 155, and then you said you have, and it went, "No," and then I came in here.
We budgeted 150,000,
Yeah, what you were saying what you had left?
80, a little under 80.
That's the number I missed.
I think it's 78 sticks in my mind right now.
For the record, most of that cost comes through between structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, architectural services. Owens isn't getting all that.
We understand. We certainly,
So the money that's been spent so far has been on the design?
We've spent on design, the
Geotechnical,
geotechnical, the
site survey.
the needs assessment was fairly expensive. The survey, we surveyed the we didn't survey the property on this one.
We
did
went
that
out,
with the
did
sensor
a, we
building.
did a topographical survey
Correct.
down there.
Well, that's part of
So,
it.
because I know you and I had discussed this a while back, and that's we didn't want to dig back in and do
Correct.
something that had been done 2-3 years ago.
Correct.
To do another survey of the building when we
Correct.
kind of had a general idea of where we were getting kind of directed with the old survey of the building.
Yeah, the new site down there is all, right now, the geo's done, survey's done.
Okay.
So unless we change the size of the building or move it, I think we could probably wiggle it around a little bit down there.
So
'Cause he did a pretty wide range on the geo survey.
So we've got a site plan drawn up on it. We figured out what made the most sense. That's pretty far along. Geotechnical was done, which the design builder would need. I have to bring in the fire protection engineer to help with that. I think the pump system we would put on the design builder to do, but we would have to give them enough parameters to say, hey, this is our expectations on that. Just so everybody knows, in the design build, basically what we're doing is we're doing the full site and civil. We give them the geotechnical. We give them a building floor plan. We give them specifications, requirements around what we want for fit up and interior finish. Basically what the design builder's doing is going to their preferred building manufacturer and say, here's what the owner wants for a building. And then they're going to design the foundation, the big building, mechanical, electrical systems, all to comply with the owner's project requirements. We're just letting them take the efficiency of working together with their own team and see who gives us the best value for the cost. We do have to go get a planning board approval through the town, so there'll be some cost involved in that. And then the design build goes out either as we can do a pre-qualifications and pre-qualify some design build companies that you think you might want to work with. The goal is to get design through. If you do pre-qualifications, you kind of narrow it down to 3 or 4 design builders that, hey, these guys look like they've done these before, they're qualified to do it. And then you give them the plans and specs and say, okay, now give us a price to do this. And we did that in Westbrook, which worked out pretty good. I just bid Waterboro, which is a much simpler building. It's basically a Butler building with really nothing in it, not sprinkled, nothing. It's about the same size. It was really, and that came in still close to 2.7 million or something like that. And there's no crane, there's no air compressor, there's none of that. It's very, very basic. And it doesn't have the insulated metal panels like we were proposing on this one. It would be the bad insulation. I know the whole thing about the continuous insulation, but what their builders are doing is they're playing with ComCheck and they're putting more in different spaces so they don't have to do the continuous insulation. But I think the metal building panels provide a longer term value than basically it's sandwiched. It's got metal on the inside, metal on the outside, and the insulation's inside. It's got a shiplet joint. It fits all together. Very efficient thermal envelope. But that's what this building was set up around, and that all goes out to design build.
Well, I think this was one of the sticking points back with the BOS as well as there was a lot of confusion over this issue. So if we could get it straightened out, hopefully by our next meeting, is that a goal?
I will reach out to Salis O'Brien this week and see what their schedule is. The fire protection engineers are far and few in between that
Yeah.
I've found. And so I just got to see where I can fit into their schedule and see what they can do for us. And I'll also talk to Mike Hayes about if he's got any numbers on firewalls, or maybe I can kick it out to a cost estimator or somebody and see what we can do.
Joe?
So selfishly, I'm gone the month of October. I mean, I'll get this started, but first time in 38 years I've taken a month off. So
It's not Europe, man.
no, no,
Like that.
everybody's like, he's doing what? Because I never take vacation, but
Gone for the whole month?
I am.
No.
Chair,
I-
Mr. I was gonna say, Owens, maybe once you reach out to fire protection engineer, and you get a good timeline, and then obviously with your sabbatical there, then we can put the next meeting kind of on
Yeah.
the map
Yep,
there. So we
absolutely.
can kind of line it up according to
Yep.
those two schedules.
Sounds good, yeah, because we wanted to expedite things, especially before the budget season. We'd like to move this forward if we could.
You want to do the bus ride with Owens or without Owens?
I don't think you need me, really.
I think he's probably seen enough here. I don't know.
Well,
What I've heard.
I'm more than happy to go along, but
Well, it's
I
gonna
think
be in
between, if
October.
you take this, then I won't be going along. But if you take this, the report that
Yep.
Salis O'Brien and Mike did, and have that in hand as you walk through, you'll kind of see the gist.
Yeah, I think most of us here are familiar, as well as, reading the study. It's pretty comprehensive.
Main Street is pretty simple to go through. It's just, it was never really an option because it's kind of a very small site. And then the IRT repurposed trailer is
Yeah.
interesting.
Sweet.
Well, that's not the word I had for it, but that's okay.
I don't think it's up to code, is it?
We're not gonna talk.
We can, what I could do is send a poll out and see what dates line up for best for everybody. So,
Not in October.
not in October.
October, I think.
I'm
is
going
pretty
after
much
some with
out.
some
Yeah.
furry horns somewhere up north.
Good for you.
A quick comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
When we're making the comparison between a sprinkler building or the building with the 3-hour firewalls and the external tank, just got to make sure that they factor in, the dry hydrant and venting for the water supply tank that we hook to. And then
Absolutely.
the other component is on the firewalls is third-party inspection for your firewalls, for any penetration or joints or head of wall joints. That needs to be factored in for a true cost. So that's a code requirement.
Yep, absolutely. Fire prevention, a fire protection engineer should be on top of
That'll
that.
be all rolled into the cost of the building.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. Anything else from you for,
No, I think I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Are we good with this subject now? The sprinkling, have we beat it?
I think we'll get professional.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need.
And,
Yeah.
and you've got the answers that you're looking for.
I do, and it's out. It's not so much my desire. I want to put it out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, yep.
No, it's a valid point. Thank you for following up on that. So if you don't mind, or if anybody objects, does anybody else have anything to bring up? Derek, if you don't mind, you'd be part of public comment if you want to, we're going to get to that in a minute.
No, I'm good.
You good?
Just one question. This is not putting anything out there. I'm just kind of curious if we had to do a redesign for the building for anything, maybe size or something like that. What kind of cost could we expect to do something like that? Just kind of curious.
And I'm only guessing from what we've spent on what we've done, I would say somewhere in the 30 to 50,000
To do a redesign.
redesign, yeah.
And that's not so much a redesign to do everything. That's just a change.
If you were gonna go bigger on this whole building, length, width, you'd probably want to sit down and start from scratch. If you wanted to add 30 feet on either end of the building lengthwise, not depth, it wouldn't be, I'm kind of speaking off the, I don't know.
Sure, that's fair.
I think if you, my recommendation would be if you're gonna go longer and deeper, you'd scrap this and start over.
I'll share this screen.
But you're gonna run out of room. The building would have to be moved if it went much longer.
And this is gonna fit everything you want there.
Correct. Yeah.
So
the
this
only-
is this is the site plan that was a rendered plan. So here's the newer sand and salt shed, the older one, access.
Want to put that up on the,
Oh, I'm not, it says I'm sharing, but apparently I'm not.
very small.
Yeah.
I
Holy
definitely can't
smokes.
see that.
My screen's huge. What did I do wrong here? I want to stop sharing. We'll try it again. Wow.
You can always go, to answer the question, bigger is always better.
There we go. That's better, isn't it?
I had again, going back to the part where I gotta physically see stuff to understand the size and what we have for square footage and all that.
So the way this was set up, just a sort of get everybody familiar when you're walking out there. The IRT trailer is about right here.
Yep, all right.
This is the newer sand and salt building, the older one. You come down from Plains Road down through here. This is sort of an open public works area. There's an embankment that comes back up towards Plain Road. The site is actually down lower. So we're gonna come right up against that embankment, get into it a little bit, not much, but I do have to squeeze over there. And then it would be a paved apron around all of the building. Here's the property line on this side, over here, the property line on the other side. So we're taking pretty much all of the bottom of the area in there. And again, there's this line over here, this is where the current well is. So if we put cistern tanks or something, I don't know, I'm guessing probably over in this area somewhere. But
And
I
Nate,
don't think-
how does this compare to like New Gloucester, the size of the building they put in, or Harrison's?
This is the same square footage as Harrison. The Gloucester's building is 120, I think it is, by 100. It's big.
it's 12,000, right?
Ours is 13,
14,040, what it says.
1440.
Well, that's what the plan says.
That's probably accurate then. That was like 1380.
Well, it depends on how you measure it.
Well, as far as question I brought up, yeah, that kind of answers my questions. But the redesign, if we need to do that.
Okay.
And it's not because I'm looking
Not a
forward to
ton of space
redesign, I
for
just
that.
want to,
Right.
see
I
what
understand that. What's
Yeah,
that?
it's available.
I said there's not a ton of space to make that any bigger.
It
With that-
really isn't.
With that drop off, you're gonna have to bring in a ton of fill.
Well, no, that goes up. From
On the inside,
yeah, that's all flat.
You'll be at the same level as the existing sand shed now,
Correct.
Yes.
and on the high side towards Plains Road, you'll dig in a little bit there.
This
Okay.
area here
yep.
goes uphill to Plains Road.
Oh, okay.
This
What's
is
in there?
Dirt and trees. And
Sand.
Shit. Soil
well, I'm
test
not
there?
really to answer that.
I mean, I know it's Rocky Raymond, but is it?
It was a
Sand.
it was a
That's what I
sand
thought, all
pit,
down there
at one
sand.
point.
Yeah.
So
There was a geotechnical study done by S.W. Cole down there, and I think it was sands.
That's going to be that winter's
Exactly.
winter sand.
That's what I was going with.
Yeah, there you go. Saving
Add a little salt and we're good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna save all the money. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Are we all on the same page right now? Any further comments from we don't have to, we're an ad hoc committee, but we have chosen to open it up to the public comment. I don't see a ton of people on Zoom. And other than Mr. Ray, I don't really see anybody out there in the chairs, unless they're hiding. So, no public comment. Good job, David. We didn't annoy anybody tonight.
You all use that word though.
It's a plus. We did. So committee, anybody else in the committee have any other questions, concerns? I know we're trying to move this thing forward. I guess my only concern is if you're not available, Owens, in October, it puts us into November for the next meeting. So let's try and, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the first week in November would be great.
Yep.
If that works
Get it
for
as early as
everybody.
possible.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
we needed a
that sounds
follow-up,
good.
we have time.
I'd tentatively schedule it and I'll get
Yeah,
Salis
we can do
O'Brien
that.
going.
Yeah. Okay. So the first week in October.
November.
November.
Oh, November, sorry. Okay. There you go.
I have an issue.
A little bit before.
Who's that?
That's Bill.
Oh, Bill.
Um,
I heard a voice.
Bill, I have a plan for you. So
Oh, he's,
Okay.
he's gonna be gone, isn't he?
yeah, he's gonna be gone. So we're gonna look for backup. We have something in the works right now. So
We could probably learn how to run that stuff.
yes, Bill.
No,
back and
no, we
forth.
can't.
Come on.
Just press buttons, right?
I think my only comment would be to make sure that we're kind of hitting all the wickets of what it is that the planning board, the finance committee, and the
Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, the Board of Selectmen, that they're really looking for. I want to make sure, we are giving them all the information that they're kind of looking for to make this a successful venture. So I think we're kind of hitting it now, but, if Nate or Joe know anything that we're kind of unaware of, that they might have heard inside the office of what they're really looking for, then let's make sure we're hitting that. I think that's the important thing.
That sounds good.
We have a meeting tomorrow. I can bring it up with Board of Selectmen and tell them to email in questions.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a workshop too on budget
Yeah.
goals, so that might be a good time.
Yeah, I think as long as, their
Yeah.
input, make sure we're giving them a full package of what it is they're looking for, as well as what Nate needs and the residents want to see as well.
Okay. Anybody else have anything that we've missed? Chief? You good? All right, I think that's it. Motion to adjourn,
Make the motion?
Second?
second. All in favor? Meeting's adjourned.